It is week 10 of the Climate Tech Inc. NFL Prediction Show. And for 48 years, family owned and operated, Climate Tech has been the premier company for all HVAC services for both residential and commercial. They have it covered. They offer free estimates on equipment replacement and 24-hour emergency service. Visit them at climate-tech.com. Cole McDaniel, Vince McKee. We finally hit. We are past again that halfway point. We talked about the halfway point really the last few weeks. We are past it. Season is moving along in the NFL. Of course, we're well past the halfway point in high school football as we're getting deep into the postseason. Same with college football. That is trucking along nicely here in November. And we're going to get to college football here first. But Vince, good to be with you as always.
Good to be with you, and you just gave him a shout out, but I'm going to go ahead and plug him one more time. Climate Tech Inc. Phenomenal job as always. Guys, it is November 9th tonight. It's getting cold. It's getting crisp out there very, very soon. The warm weekends will be over, before we know it. So please do us a favor. Call Climate Tech. Tell them Vincent Cole sent you. And in the meantime, while they're doing that, let's make some picks.
Absolutely, and we'll get to it. So in college football, we're going to start with the top 25. A team we actually just talked about last week has a top 25 matchup, and that's number 18, Texas, as they beat the Kansas State Wildcats. You took Kansas State last week. I took Texas and ended up coming away with that win there with the Texas pick. Now, the Longhorns have a tough test. Undefeated, fourth-ranked TCU. Vince, who wins this one?
I'm going to go with TCU. I'm gonna roll the dice one more time. Going with TCU. They have more to play for. I've been picking against Texas most of the season. I'm going to continue that trend. But, just recap real quick. The last Saturday, phenomenal day for college football. It was the first Saturday since mid-July where I had 0 engagements. I was able to relax the entire day, which is what I did. Just feasted on some chicken wings and had a couple beers for once. Enjoyed life and watched college football. But, what a weekend it was of college football, but TCU is the pick.
Yeah, Clemson went down last week, this past weekend. Alabama did. I mean, Ohio State was tested in the bad weather, in the wind. Michigan was tested in the first half. Tennessee goes down against Georgia. It was an interesting weekend. And I'm going to say this weekend's going to be maybe interesting as well, because I'm actually going to go with the Texas Longhorns here. I'm going to say Texas wins again. I think they're a pretty good team. They should have beat Alabama earlier in the year if Quinn Ewers didn't go down and get hurt. I'd argue that Alabama would have 3 losses and Texas would only have 2. Against TCU tested against Texas Tech this past week. I think the Longhorns, they get it done. They ride Bijan Robinson, their star running back. Quinn Ewers gets it done in the air. I believe in that offense. I think they're going to be able to move the ball enough that they win this game. So you and I are going to be split on that one.
3 of my favorite college football quarterbacks come from Texas. I would love to see them win. Vince Young, Major Applewhite, and Colt McCoy.
And and none of those had the beard or the mullet of Quinn Ewers. Again, Ewers has that that great mullet there. We're going to switch over to the Big Ten now. And as we move to the Big Ten, as we're flying through these picks here right now, we're going to go with a matchup that not the sexiest matchup out there. It's probably going to be more of it's going to be a little bit more of a rough rumble, physical defensive battle likely between a Wisconsin team, who of course fired their coach, Paul Chryst, earlier in the season, and an Iowa team that can't do much on offense. But it's typically a Big Ten West matchup that really provides some entertaining TV, some decent must-watch television. Typically one that I, at least if I'm going past that game, I'm going to stop and watch it a little bit. So, Vince, this weekend, will Wisconsin win, or can Iowa get the offense going?
I think Iowa gets the offense going. It is funny when I look down at my phone, you sent me these. I'm like, Iowa again, but it is a good little matchup, though. I'm going to go with the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, and we're going to be split again. I'm going to go with Wisconsin here. I think that they're going to give the ball to Braylon Allen. I think he's going to be able to run the ball enough Not super effectively because Iowa's good against the run. They're physical. But I just think a play or two here, if he just gashes the Iowa defense once or twice, that's enough to win the game. Iowa doesn't have enough on offense to get it going. And I've got this one, Wisconsin 20, Iowa 10. Like I said, low scoring bout. I don't expect much offensively between those two.
No, we're cruising through these picks, but I wanted to throw this out here real quick. With the way the Big Ten is split and you have the Big Ten championship game, I was thinking about this today driving to work. I was thinking, is it possible that Ohio State could play Michigan 2 weeks in a row?
Well, no, because it's the East versus the West.
Oh, for whatever reason, I thought they were in separate sides of that. Okay. I withdraw my question.
Yeah, Big Ten East, Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, Maryland, Rutgers, Penn State.
That's right. I don't know why, for whatever reason in my brain, when I was driving to work, I had Michigan on the other side of the ledger. But forget it.
Nope.
Either way, though, the only thing I was trying to figure out, too, though, is who do they have left? They have Ohio State has Michigan, Illinois, correct? And then Indiana.
Yep. Indiana's this week is their matchup this week.
Is it Indiana, Illinois?
Illinois, Michigan.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Yeah, it should be Illinois. I'm pretty sure on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we turn to the last game, and it is between two ranked teams here on this one as well. We're going to go out to the West Coast. We're going to go to the Pac-12. Washington now finds themselves at number 25 in the rankings, and they go against number 6 Oregon. Haven't lost since they got smoked by Georgia week 1. Vince, can Washington pull off the upset, or does Oregon continue their march towards the top 4?
Nope. Pulling the streak here. Going to go ahead and ride the streak with Oregon. I think that they're going to do everything possible now. As I just talked about, the Ohio State-Michigan matchup looming. Will that drop Michigan back a little bit? We have conference championship games. Oregon has a lot to play for. If they could keep winning, they could sneak in, quite possibly get that 4th slot. You have TCU losing. I mean, there's a lot of options for Oregon. They have more to play for. I think they pull it off relatively easily.
Bo Nix and that offense starting to get things rolling a little bit more. Bo Nix now entering the Heisman conversation, a guy who formerly played with the Auburn Tigers, and he's starting to get it going in Eugene. Washington at quarterback, a guy we're familiar with, Michael Penix Jr., who used to be a quarterback at Indiana for the Hoosiers, the lefty. He has a good arm. He has the ability to make some noise, make something happen. I think they're going to put up some points against Oregon, but I still think Oregon wins this matchup, stay fairly comfortable. They might be tested a little bit, but I still think that it's going to be a decent win for Oregon. It's not going to be a nail-biter, but maybe closer than what they'd like. I have them winning by 10 over Washington in this matchup. Plenty to get them by. Just keep the one loss on the record, and I truly believe that TCU falls ahead of them this week, and so that should allow Oregon to at least slide up one spot in the rankings.
Yeah, I mean, if the math works out that way, again, lots to play for. I love this time of year.
Yeah, it is a fun time of year. And it's a fun time of year in the NFL. We're starting to hit at this point. This is when coaches start to get fired. You start to see things change. And you really start to see what teams are actually planning to do for the future. Do they think that they can compete? Have they realized it's time to throw in the towel? Are they holding out to a glimmer of hope that maybe they can manage to sneak their way into the postseason? This is what we start to see at this point. But let's go to our marquee matchup first here. As we talk about our records, of course, I still just have the 1-point advantage over you as we split this last week. You see those scores up on the screen for us here now. I'm 82-55, Vince 81-56. So we've been cruising along. Things have been nice with our picks the last couple of weeks. You're just still trying to play the catch up and get that one game on me here. But two teams that I would argue maybe they could be even playing wise, but I think they ultimately have different goals for the season. Maybe I could be wrong about that. But two teams that their records are still pretty neck and neck like our records are.
Two teams that
And
ain't going to the playoffs.
that's the Raiders and the
Yeah,
Colts.
insane. Not to cut you off, but I will. It's two teams that I thought, oh my god, like if you would have told me 8 weeks in, their records would be what they are. It's just insanity to me. I have to laugh. There were some rumors today about Josh McDaniel possibly getting fired. Obviously, those turned out to be false. But when I did first see it and I heard it from a pretty reliable source, I thought to myself, that's very possible. You know, he's going to a situation they can't seem to win. A ton of talent there for the Raiders, scoring a lot of points. You're getting the best season you've ever had out of Josh Jacobs. Okay, I know this because he's my fantasy running back, and I'm paying attention to pretty much every time he touches the ball. Nobody saw that coming. So the Raiders are playing the best football that they've played in years in certain positions, and they're losing, and they're barely losing, and this continues to happen. Frustration is going to grow quickly there. Josh McDaniels, the kind of coach that not exactly Mr. Personality, he needs to win. Opposite side of the coin, the Colts. You know, we've talked about them taking possibly for CJ Stroud. There's so many things going on in Indianapolis. It's a joke. How you fire your coach who has a winning record with one, you know, I don't want to use the term washed up quarterback, but all these, you know, you go from Brissett to Phillip Rivers to Carson Wentz. This year they were trying out Matt Ryan. He's never really had that star quarterback in his prime, and yet he's still winning games for you. You fire him for a former player who was on ESPN, right? I mean, none of it makes sense. Jim Irsay is a little bit nuts. I don't trust the Colts. This is a team with one of the best running backs in football. They have a stud receiver in Pittman, and they can't get the job done. It's mind-blowing. For those reasons and more, going with the Raiders. They're both dysfunctional as all holy hell. But, I mean, and if McDaniels really did get fired, I'm sorry, but this would have been the greatest game of all time. Regardless, Raiders.
Agreed. I'm kind of disappointed because it would have been fun to talk about this. Both teams that let their coaches go. Now, you were talking about the fake report that came out. With the change to Twitter now, you can get a check mark by paying, you know, on Twitter Blue for the $8. So somebody with the same profile picture as Adam Schefter says Adam Schefter now has the check mark. You could tell if it's a fake account because it wouldn't have the check mark. Now it had the check mark. It's just a different username underneath of it. Adam Schefter had all of Twitter going wild because it said that Josh McDaniels was fired, which is honestly very believable. I mean, you take the last name McDaniel and you put an S at the end, you're already set to fail. You know, there should be no S at the end of the name. No, but
there should be no Neon Sports. But you know what? Life goes on.
But no, we don't have two teams here with fired coaches. It seems like McDaniels, even though if he loses this game, I could see him getting fired this next week. But he is currently still the coach of the Raiders, from our understanding, unless something crazy is happening, and the Colts let go of Frank Reich. Now, I still think the Raiders believe that if they get things going, they have enough talent on that team that they can make a run. I truly think that they believe that. That's the only thing that would have shocked me about if they got rid of McDaniels at this point. They probably should have beat the Jaguars this past week. Seemed like they let that one slip through their fingertips later on through that game. And Derek Carr was really poor. He was abysmal in that game. So I still think Derek Carr is a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong there. But looking at it, I don't think the Raiders are looking to tank. I think that they feel like they have the potential, the ability that they can piece something together and go on to win games. But if they don't, they're right in that conversation to maybe move on from Carr, who's in his 30s, and look for Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, be in that mix. It's very, very possible. So I wouldn't be surprised about that. But as we turn to the Colts, I really, really believe that Jim Irsay is looking to tank. We talked about him being a little bit crazy. We talked about it weeks ago. People probably would have thought I was crazy when I said it. And now you let go of your coach. You bring in Jeff Saturday, who I think he's just a friendly face and a nice guy. So it maybe takes the heat off of a terrible season where I think people are who are Colts fans are still going to appreciate Jeff Saturday for all he did. But I mean, from what I saw report-wise, as a high school football coach, he's a losing record. And he's an ESPN analyst. So I don't know. He just doesn't have the coaching experience. I'd be surprised if he's able to really piece something together here, turn it around in the season. But Jonathan Taylor's had his injury issues. You've had some injuries on defense. I think there's good pieces, but I really think they're in that quarterback hunt. Because of that, I just think of two teams that possibly could be tanking, I'm going to say that the Raiders win this game. They're the ones that fully aren't on board with that yet, but they easily could be.
Agreed.
So as we turn to Sunday Night Football, two teams that we're not talking about them tanking. We're going to talk about the Los Angeles Chargers, who they're 5-3. Honestly, it feels like they have a worse record than that with how tight some of those games have been. They've actually got a good record, and they've had a lot of injuries. So things just haven't been going their way, but they've still been able to walk out with a ton of wins, which is good for them. But Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, on the defensive side, Joey Bosa, J.C. Jackson, so many injuries for that team, and they're going up against a 49ers team that now has McCaffrey. They're 4-4. I think that they're probably the healthier bunch of the two. I'm going to say that the San Francisco 49ers, they win this game. I think it's not going to be a high-scoring shootout. I think Justin Herbert's going to have to really rely on Austin Eckler, who I think is still going to get plenty of touches, do a lot. But your wide receiver, it's going to be DeAndre Carter and Josh Palmer, and it's not going to be your big hitters. So it's going to limit Herbert a little bit. That 49ers defense, I think it's enough for them to make some stands, slow down Herbert in that offense. And I just think McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel on the other end, they make enough plays to win this game. And I've got the Niners winning this one 26-21. How do you feel, Vince?
It's an outstanding game. Great pick for Sunday Night Football. Clearly, two teams at a crossroads here. And it's funny that you said it, Cole, because at 5-3, the Chargers, to me, it almost seems like a bad record, even though it's not.
Right.
Just because we had so much hype for them coming into the season. Clearly, you can't control injuries. It would have been great if Bosa was healthy. You'd have a Bosa on both teams. That would be pretty neat, But it is what it is. And with that being the case, though, I'm still going to go with the Chargers. I just think they're the better team all around, despite the banged-up receivers. They need to find a way to get it done. This is a big, big game, interstate rivalry here. I'm just, I just have this gut feeling. Going to go with them. The road, to me, doesn't mean anything. It's Sunday Night Football. We see the road team win all the time on Sunday nights. Again, Chargers.
Interesting. So we're split already there on that game. And now we're going to turn to our upset picks. Now, I'm going to start this one off. And I was looking down through this, and there's multiple games that stood out to me. But I'm actually going to start with the Thursday night football game. I'm going to say the Carolina Panthers pull off the upset against the Atlanta Falcons. Why I'm going with the Panthers in this matchup is because they played less than 2 weeks ago. They just saw each other. There's only one game splitting the matchup between these two, and it was a close one. The Panthers would have walked away with a win if Moore didn't take off the helmet. It pushed the PAT back. Pinheiro kicks that one wide. Still tie ball game. Go to overtime. The Falcons win. Absolutely crazy finish to that game. And now as they play again, it's in Carolina. And they just saw each other, and it was close the last time. And the Panthers feel like they could have won that game if they didn't make the mistakes right at the end. I mean, Walker threw that bomb to Moore. I just think the Panthers roll into this one with a little bit of confidence, knowing they can play against the Falcons. And here's the other thing. The Falcons, they lost to the Chargers. But I think they're due for a division loss here soon as well. They've been sitting atop their division standings. Now, are the Falcons the best team in that division? Well, I think the whole division's terrible. It might arguably be the worst division in football this season. But I still think the Buccaneers are going to end up being the team that come away with that division. So the Falcons have to drop at some point. Why not be to the Panthers here on this Thursday night game? So I'm going with Carolina.
Interesting because we split this game last year. I forget who we picked. I just remember that we picked opposite teams, and it was kind of when I started to make my run. I remember that. It's going to happen again this year. Again, on a Thursday night, they're playing again, Atlanta, Carolina. And again, we're going to split. Going with the Falcons, I just think they're the better team, way better, quite frankly.
Right.
And here's the thing with Carolina, too. They're going through some quarterback drama. They were down at, what was it, 35-0, 42-0 with PJ Walker. They pull him out. Baker comes in. Garbage time, throws a bunch of touchdowns. But anytime you get a guy who comes in, everybody loves the backup quarterback. He's throwing those touchdown passes. All of a sudden, there's that controversy. They're going right back to PJ Walker, who, truth be told, me and Cole both have loved PJ Walker since the days of the XFL. Full disclosure there. I think he's a better quarterback. If I was Carolina, I'd go with either him or the rookie, quite frankly. Regardless.
Well, Corral had the injury, so he's out this season. That's how PJ Walker moved above him in the depth chart. Yeah.
Shows how much I pay attention to Carolina football. But yeah. So regardless, I was just excited PJ Walker was playing. I didn't care about the circumstances. I don't think they're going to win. So I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons. We are 2-3 for splits. This is looking good.
Yeah, things are looking good.
Thursday night and Sunday night, right? Let's see if we get one in the middle here.
Well, and talk about coaching changes. The Joe Mixon 5-touchdown game resulted in multiple defensive coaches getting fired for the Panthers. But I honestly think that means that they might have a rebound, honestly. But that's funny that we're both split on that. Things are looking good. We're having a good start here right now. Vince, what's your upset pick then?
Going to give you a quick double dip on the upsets. I have Seattle winning. Seattle's been very, very good to me. Like that old baseball player once said, baseball's been very, very good to me. Seattle, the last couple of weeks, I've been riding them, and they've been winning. Now I have a hunch you're going to take Tampa Bay because you just said how you think Tampa Bay is going to win that division. Regardless, Seattle, an underdog, 3.5 points. They are 6-3, traveling to Tampa Bay, and they're not even playing in Tampa Bay. I'm pretty sure that game's in Germany.
That's why I took the Buccaneers, because it's in Munich, going over to Germany. I just have a feeling that Tom Brady and some of those veterans are going to be able to handle the travel and that a little bit better with their experience. And that's the only reason I went with the Buccaneers, because I was tempted to take the Seahawks.
And we are 3 splits already, and we might have a fourth, because the second half, as I'm looking down on my notes here, the second half of my double dip, and this is a pretty extreme one. So if it pays off, that's great. If it doesn't, not the end of the world. I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers. 2-prong on this one. I don't see the Steelers starting the season 2-7 with a Mike Tomlin-led team. I think they're going to figure it out and pull off a win. And at the same time, I think the Saints are garbage this year. I told my main man there, Tony Bogan, I didn't think the Saints were going to win more than 7 games. All of a sudden, they got Landry at the time, Jarvis Landry, and he's thinking 11 wins in the playoffs and everything. And I said, T-Bogues, slow the roll. So 3-6 for the Saints, 2-6 for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, a home underdog here, 1.5 points to the Saints. Saints also coming off a short week, while Pittsburgh's coming off a bye. You have a short week against a bye at home. Gonna take Pittsburgh. So that is my upset double dip for the week. I have Seattle and Pittsburgh.
Well, the Saints have been bad. So have the Steelers. They've really both been garbage at this point. But who's the worst garbage at this point, I guess, is the actual question.
Who's flaming more?
Well, if the Steelers had some of their better guys healthy, I think they'd be the better team. Still no TJ Watt. I think that defense is going to have struggles against. I think that Chris Olave has a big game. I understand that, it's Andy Dalton as the quarterback, but I still think he's able to find Chris Olave. I think Olave gashes them. I feel like Taysom Hill is going to maybe do something against that Steelers defense that's been struggling, but Kenny Pickett in that Matt Canada offense, and everybody in Pittsburgh is calling for Matt Canada's head. They have for weeks. They have been so poor that I believe in that Saints defense to actually force some turnovers, win that game. I have the Saints winning that game So we're split there. So the big question is, if you were saying on the show you have two upset picks,
yeah.
Which one do you want put as the graphics here?
The graphics. I'm sorry, Mr. Graphic Man himself. I'll have fun with it. I'll go with Pittsburgh as a graphic pick.
Okay. We'll stick that one up here, even though we know you have multiple upset picks. Now
I keep you on your toes, man. I have to make your job harder. So there you go. But yeah, Pittsburgh it is.
that works. Keeping me busy this week, that is for sure.
I've seen you more, I'm sorry, through this computer screen than I have in person since probably week 1 of the high school football season. That's how crazy this is.
That's true. We've been staying busy, but hey, it gives us a chance to still see each other face to face, still get a chance to talk and have these podcasts. It's been a lot of fun. But we just got off of the upset picks. Can the Cleveland Browns pull off an upset on the road against the Miami Dolphins, Vince?
Nope. So I just don't see it. I'm sorry. I think the Browns are in turmoil. They won't say that they are, but they're so close to getting Deshaun Watson back that now I feel like it becomes a distraction. This is actually a game in the beginning of the season that I had them winning easily. Ironically enough, at 8 weeks into the season, I actually had them at 4-4. My predictions for the Browns were 4-4. They're 3-5. I was going to say they were going to win this one and they were going to want to roll. So it could still happen, but I just see something going goofy. You know, every time they travel to Miami, something bizarre happens. They never have a smooth trip out there. They never seem to beat them when they should either. It just loopy things happen. He's good. Can't believe I'm saying it. And Tyreek Hill, I think he shreds our secondary. Unfortunately, the Browns secondary. Again, I hope I'm wrong. I know all you people in the Browns groups probably hate me by this point because I continue to pick against them. Took Cincinnati against the Browns, got burned. Gonna take the Dolphins. And again, this is one of those picks where if I lose, I could really care less because I am a huge Browns fan. But going with the Dolphins, I just think they're better.
Yeah, well, Tua is good, but he's not that good. I mean, he's still an average quarterback. I think he's got pretty good accuracy. His problem is he underthrows things on some of those deep balls at times. I know he underthrew a bad one that against the Bears that honestly probably could have gone for a touchdown if he put it on his guy in stride, floated it up there, allowed the defensive back to get back and break that one up. That is still the one concern with him is maybe that arm strength. I think he has the accuracy. I think he's a good leader. I think there's a lot of good aspects to his game, but I don't see him as a long-term starting quarterback. I see him as a guy that his flame on the candle is going to burn out pretty quickly as being a starter, but I see him as a long-term backup in the league. I'm going to say maybe he's got another year or two of starting. I just think something's going to happen where he's no longer going to be the starter there. They're going to roll with somebody young, but then he is going to be actually a really good backup because I think he's smart. I think he's got that good mentality that it would work and just seem to click. But with Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, they're making him look good down there. They are for sure. That offense has been rolling against the Browns defense. The Browns defense, really the last game against the Bengals, the secondary was good. John Johnson stepped up. Grant Delpit probably had his best game of the season. Do I expect them to do the same thing against Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? No, I do not. I still believe in the corners, but I still have questions for the safeties. They put one game up that was good. Can you piece it together and keep putting good games, stringing it along? That's the problem. Here's the other thing. You said Deshaun Watson's going to be a distraction. Not yet. Not this week. He doesn't return to practice until next week, from my understanding. So I think once he returns to practice and there's some shared reps, I think that's when it starts to become a distraction. This week, I don't think it is. So I actually think the Browns keep it close, but the Dolphins at home win out. So you and I are both going with Miami in this one.
All right. Got you marked down. I thought we were about to have 5 splits on the show. You know what else I was thinking about, Cole? What happens if we tie at the end of the season?
Well,
we got to come up with some sort of tiebreaker.
Well, if we tie at the end of the season, I think we talked about it last year. It didn't come down to a tie, so we didn't have to do anything. Whoever got the most college picks correct ended up winning it.
So I need to beat you by at least one.
Well, I don't know.
That's right.
I haven't gone back through the college picks.
I can tell you right now, there's no way it's even close.
Yeah, the college picks are the tiebreaker then, but we didn't need it last year. I doubt we'll need it this year. That would be crazy for us to go through an entire NFL season, not just the regular season, all the way through the Super Bowl, and we tie with our records. And we have a lot of weeks where we split games and we pick a lot of different games. It's just a matter of how it ends up working out, which is so funny.
Completely agreed. And, this season has been very unpredictable. Our records are good. We've had a decent year. But I think if we were to go back and match where we were the last two seasons coming into week 10, we would have had to been better than this. So this season's very unpredictable. It's going to get even zanier. So we'll see how it goes. But that is right. I'm pretty sure that is what we did last year. So if there is a tie through the Super Bowl, we'll go through the college picks, or we'll flip Dom for it. Heads or tails? We'll just pick up Dom and flip them.
Okay. Yeah,
Tom Clary.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, but we'll run it by him and we'll check and see. Yeah, no, I'm interested about what's going to happen here. Because obviously the Cleveland Browns still have a chance. Truly,
oh, yeah,
they really do in that division. I mean, the Bengals. Every time the Browns play the Bengals just can't get over the hurdle in recent times. I honestly wish the Browns would play the Bengals 17 games out of the season. Play them every single game, because you might end up going like 12-5 with how the Bengals perform against the Cleveland Browns. The Ravens, like I said, I still haven't been overly impressed. I think getting Roquan Smith in there certainly helps them out, but the Steelers certainly the bottom of the division. I'm not concerned about them. I think in general, there's a huge opportunity, and some of these games that look like certain losses, you got the Buccaneers coming up, and they haven't been playing that well. Maybe that gives you a sliver of hope. Josh Allen, honestly, this week, I took the Buffalo Bills, but there's still the question about the elbow. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't run out there. I think the Vikings end up winning that game against the Buffalo Bills. So I have the Bills right now. It's my pick for this week. I can't really go back and change it later, but if there's like an update come, say, Saturday or Friday, for instance, that talks about Josh Allen not playing, I don't know. I think the Vikings win that game, and if he's then out even longer and he doesn't play against the Browns, that changes things. The other thing is, even though Josh Allen's a good runner, taking away, if they limit his passes, if he's not throwing the ball 40, 50 times a game, he's throwing it in the teens, 15 times, and he's running, I like the chances for the Browns a little bit better. So there's maybe some sliver of hope and some opportunity even before Watson gets back against the Houston Texans, against teams that look like almost guaranteed losses coming into the year.
I think if the Browns could get to 5 wins before Watson, I think they're going to go 4-2 with him, finish the year at 9 wins, and miss the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But still, that's a winning record. It's 9 wins, and it gives you a ton of momentum going into next year. The other thing, though, with this particular week, another reason I picked Miami, though, unfortunately, strictly is because the Browns in the last couple of years have struggled against the AFC East. I cannot remember the last time they beat the Patriots. I really, truly think it was back in 2010 with Peyton Hillis. It's been that long.
Correct.
They can't seem to beat the Patriots. They've now lost twice to the Jets in the past 3 years. They lost the COVID year that they made the playoffs. Half our receiving room wasn't around, and I think we had like a backup quarterback. No, Baker was playing. But regardless, the Jets have tripped them up. The Dolphins they've split with over the years. It's going to be interesting. If they do win this game, though, and get to 4-5, I agree with you. Then they put themselves in a position where they can make one hell of a run. I also think now you're going to probably see even more of Kareem Hunt, I hope. Mm-hmm. Nick Chubb's going to be wearing down a little bit as the year goes on. He has more carries at this point in the season that he's had through 8 games any other season has Nick Chubb. And that's a good thing. That's what you want to keep feeding him the ball. But get Hunt more and more involved. You don't have Njoku. You're going to need that extra threat out there. And hey, broken record time. Cue it up. We say it every single week. Find a way to get David Bell the ball at least 7 or 8 times. I don't think I'm asking for that much. Find him in the slot. Find him in a 10-yard curl. I can't say it enough. I highly doubt Kevin Stefanski listens to the show. Why would he? But you literally need to get David Bell the football already. It's proof in the pudding.
Yeah, and I truly believe that David Bell will get the football when Deshaun Watson's playing, because I just have a gut feeling that Watson's going to throw that ball around the park. They're going to be running more out of the shotgun. I think he's going to take advantage of his really talented slot receiver who has great hands that you haven't seen too much of yet at this point. Now, here's something else I'd like to see. They haven't really added this in the wrinkle, and you threw this out there. Kareem Hunt needs to see that football more. Now that you've decided you're going to keep him on the roster this year, take advantage of having that two-headed monster. You didn't use Kareem Hunt probably as much as you should have earlier in the year. Nick Chubb was getting a ton of touches, as he should. Here's something that I love. Some people who are more traditionalists, they hate this. But the next 3 weeks, even though they're winnable games, it's still decent teams that you're going up against that have the ability to turn it on when they want to. I would say throw an added wrinkle in there. I truly believe when you get into short yardage situations, into goal-to-go situations, it is faster to snap it directly to the running back than it is to put it in the quarterback's hands, then have him hand it off. Wildcat packages. I want to see wildcat packages with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb out there on the field. I don't care who's touching the ball, but the other one can block for the person who gets the ball. I say you add that two-headed monster, that really combined horse there in the backfield between the two, and you start incorporating some wildcat where they're taking direct snaps just to speed it up, hit the hole, get the short yardage, and get the first down or get the touchdown. We saw a direct snap to Nick Chubb, worked beautifully against the Cincinnati Bengals. I say you use that not with just Chubb, with Hunt out there on the field as well.
They say they're analytics guys, right? You know, Andrew Berry, Stefanski, a lot of it was analytics. We hear that term a lot, analytics. Well, right there is proof in the pudding. If you have a split-second differential and you have the guy who you want to carry the ball, having it in his arms a split second quicker, if that's what you're going to do, why not do that? I'm totally fine with that. It pops in my head. It's funny that you say that because I really started thinking about that during that Monday Night Football game as I was watching it, and they did that. I'm like, you know what? I'm like, that does make a lot of sense because it's a split second quicker. You're not lined up 3 yards behind center, sometimes 5 yards behind center. Much better.
I mean, you get some forward momentum as well, truly, because you're catching that ball and then just hitting the hole and just going. And I think that really helps to get that extra second. It keeps the defense from getting a push about a half second sooner. So I just think it's really beneficial. I would love to see that. And I honestly think it would work really well if it's Chubb next to Hunt. You're snapping it directly to Hunt, and you can even let Hunt, if you practiced it, if he's prepared for it, a little bit of read option. That could be really an interesting wrinkle if they incorporate that in practice and feel comfortable that the ball is not going to hit the turf, hit the floor. Then I'd feel good about that as well.
Well, whatever happens. All I know is that combined between me and you, we'll be covering 3 high school football games this weekend. Obviously, we have the Buckeyes Saturday and all good things in between. So by the time we roll around to Sunday afternoon, I'm ready to throw up those feet, sit back and watch it. Time to enjoy. And real quick, while we have 2 quick minutes, Cole, the fine listeners, let them know where you'll be.
Yep, I will be in Twinsburg as Minter and Medina rematch. They played earlier this season. Our Keon Sports Game of the Week that we had on the YouTube channel. You can go back and watch and listen to that one if you want to get prepared for this Friday's matchup. Of course, Medina won that. Last 2 meetings, Medina has won after really never being able to get Minter. Can the Cardinals swing it back their way, or does the number 2 seed in Medina advance? We will wait and see, but that's where I'll be.
I myself, tomorrow night, will be in Brunswick, as it is wholly named the number 1 seed in that region, playing against the Mansfield Tigers, not Tigers, Tigers. First time I'll be covering them. Pretty fun. Pretty excited to do that. And then Saturday night, it is Elyria Catholic versus Glenville. And to me, is probably one of the biggest games. We'll see what goes down. Cole, it's been another fun show. Take us home, man.
That it has. And for 48 years, family owned and operated, Climate Tech has been the premier company for all HVAC services for both residential and commercial. They have it covered. They offer free estimates on equipment replacement and 24-hour emergency service. Visit them at climate-tech.com. Thanks to everybody who's watched and listened as well to this Week 10 episode. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, make sure you do so. For myself, Cole McDaniel, as well as Vince McKee, everybody enjoy your evening. Have a great weekend. Have fun watching football.